Welcome to all Caribbean entrepreneurs. If you've been ready and waiting to take your business digital and get paid online while you sip something strong on the beach, this podcast is for you. We'll hear from the Caribbean's finest entrepreneurs on topics like e-commerce, business development, brand building, social media, their wins and failures. This is the only place in the region helping you navigate the digital age from the Caribbean's perspective. This is Digipreneur FM. And now, let's give it up for the Digiboss himself, Mr. Karan Rose.
Thank you to everybody tuning in to another episode of the Digipreneur FM podcast. And as usual, it is your boy, Mr. Rose. DJ, you know what to do. You know the vibes. You know the protocol. Fade us all the way out because we gotta talk to the people. It is Thursday, June 13th, 2024, and it is episode number 162. How are you lovely ladies and gentlemen of the Digipreneur family doing all across the world? Whew, it is. Let me see. As I say across the world, man, it's a fresh month. Let me see who we got in the building. I'm just checking to see what countries have been tuned into the Digipreneur podcast for this month so far. So we got TNT in the building. We got the U.S., we got the Bahamas. Shout out to the Bahamians. We got the Bajans. Barbados is in the building. We got Japan. Japan has been locked in over the past couple of months. Jamaica, St. Kitts, Grenada, Canada, United Kingdom, Indonesia, Iraq, Malaysia, Suriname. Hello, folks that are tuned in all across the world. It's always amazing to see who is, paying attention to the content, because even though the podcast has predominantly focused on Caribbean content, people in different countries always look to how different parts of the world are doing particular things, right? And because we talk e-commerce, digital strategy, marketing, and digital entrepreneurship, there's a lot of things that people around the world, they can take bits and pieces and start to implement it into what they are doing in their own situations in different parts of the world. So shout outs to everybody that is tuned in all across the world. Always a pleasure to see, how far your content goes. Now, speaking of international audiences, today's episode is an interview we did with the lovely Travel with Zoe, Miss Zoe Reeves, who travels the world. She travels the world and she showcases different cultures, different places, different spots. She was recently in Colombia and, she was touring all over Colombia, and somehow, some way, she always finds her way back to the Caribbean, and she comes back to Trinidad every single time. So that's always really dope to see her kind of go out and to see her, always coming back to TNT. Clearly, TNT, she loves the doubles. TNT has a hold on her, but that's dope. But yeah, we had Zoe come in to do an interview on our radio program on Freedom 106.5 FM, the Digital World Show, with myself and Ricolia. And you guys know my vibes, man. When we do an amazing interview over on the radio program, I definitely want to share it to the Digipreneur community because there's just a lot of valuable insights that, the Digipreneur community can take from some of the interviews. And I know that not every single time you're going to be able to tune in on Fridays from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time to catch the radio program live. We do have replays, but like I said, when the interviews are really, really, really good, I definitely want to share it over to the Digipreneur community. So that is going to be our episode today. We sat down with Zoe Reeve, aka Travel with Zoe, and we spoke all about her journey and being a travel blogger, or a travel vlogger, I should say. And for those who have been interested in becoming a travel vlogger themselves, this episode is for you. And for everybody else, I think this is just a really good listen. So yeah, check it out. I will see you guys at the end of the episode. All right. Here we are. Travel with Zoe on the digital world on Freedom 106.5.
The best insight, instant feedback, accountability. The all-new Talk Radio Freedom 106.5.
Now is the featured presentation happening at the top of the hour. And ladies and gentlemen, listen, these are people that don't need no introduction because you see them everywhere, but we're going to give them an introduction nonetheless. Now, you would have seen her online. She is a wanderer. She is a storyteller and a visionary who turns every single destination into inspiration. With a backpack full of dreams and a passport brimming with stamps, she's ventured into the heart of culture. She has danced on the edge of adventure, and she has been able to eat some of the best foods. She has been able to eat some of the best foods across the Caribbean islands and the world, all right? Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome to the digital world, Miss Zoe Reeve. Zoe, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. I just came here from Manzanilla. Had a nice chilled few days. So yeah, all good.
How was Manzanilla?
Yeah, it was great. I have a friend there who I met, I think, last year. And she's such an amazing cook. So I feel like everybody gets fed like really well when they're around her. So I ate really good food for the last few days and went exploring, went to the lighthouse, just like met some more of her family. So yeah, it was really nice.
So for those who don't know, this is your first time, your first time visiting Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah, I just know, trying to make sure.
Yeah, it's my 8th time actually.
8th time.
Yeah.
That's great. So what keeps you coming back to Trinidad specifically?
So I guess more and more things happen each time to where there's more and more reasons to come back. So originally when I first came, it was 2015, and I spent 3 months volunteering at a farm in Moruga in exchange for accommodation and food. So originally I just wanted to come back to literally visit that family because I ended up becoming quite close to the family. And it was really just that. It was like, I mean, yeah, I like the doubles, whatever. It was more things, but generally it was like to come back to visit the family. But then because I would always come back to visit the family, then I would meet like some of their friends and go to some new areas, realize that there were lots of places to explore in Trinidad, get curious about exploring more. Then other friends that I had made would invite me to, stay in their area. So all of a sudden I'd be traveling around the country on maxis, and I don't know, there was just more and more reasons every time. So yeah.
So you've been doing this for quite some time, obviously. So you want to take us back to when you first started? Like, you want to take us back to your first trip, and at what point did you realize this is something that I want to just keep doing?
Yeah, so my first solo trip, I was 19, and I made some money because I did like a summer job at the Wimbledon tennis tournament, and I didn't really need to like use the money for anything because I was at university and I had like a student loan, so all that was fine. So I was like, okay, what should I do with this money? So I really wanted to go to Jamaica because I was into dancehall music at the time, because being in London at university there was like dancehall parties there, stuff like that
everywhere. So
yeah, I wanted to go to Jamaica, so I just decided, like, I've never really liked listening to what anyone has to say or whatever, so I just decided to book the flight without really discussing it with anyone because I didn't want any negative opinions on my decision. So I just booked this flight, and it cost like most of the £1,000 like went on the flight. And so I was like, we'll deal with where I'm going to stay after.
When we get there.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
So I booked the flight, and then I told people like afterwards.
Yeah.
And then I knew like I wanted to really understand Jamaica and like really learn a lot about it by going there. So I just did some research. I like reading, so I googled like how to stay with a local family. I just googled like different search terms like that, and then I read lots of articles. So I found out there are certain websites literally made for that kind of thing, like certain platforms for travelers to like volunteer in exchange for accommodation in a local community or stuff like that. So I just did a lot of research on all that stuff, and then I made an account on Couchsurfing, which is a website where you can sleep on local people's couches or if they have a spare bed. And also I registered for Workaway, which is the one where you volunteer in exchange for the accommodation and food. And so yes, I ended up couch surfing for 2 weeks in like the bush in Jamaica, basically. And so before I went, everyone was like, "Oh, like you're gonna die, like they're gonna harvest your organs." Like, yeah, like everyone was just being really extreme. Yeah. And obviously I didn't listen because I don't know, I've just always been really stubborn, and yeah, so I wasn't like scared, but I remembered like what the people said, and when I was there and I had such a great time, obviously it was just such a contrast to what people said. Right. So I just really wanted them to know that it wasn't the case, because it's just annoying that like everyone thinks that way. So when I came back, I decided to write, because I like writing, I decided to write some articles on like WordPress. Like I signed up for a WordPress website to write like travel articles. I was like, well, at least then I can send this to people. Maybe people will see that, you know, their prediction was wrong. So I was like, oh, what should I call it? Because I had to pay for a domain. So I was like, Travel with Zoe, like, why not? So yeah, so the name was born like back when I was 19, which I'm going to be 31 tomorrow. So it was like a long time. Happy birthday, Ned. Yeah, happy birthday. So yeah, travelwithzoe.org was the domain that I bought. And then I started writing articles. So I knew like from back then that I wanted to share my stories, and that I wanted to highlight maybe parts of like the world that maybe not everybody wants to highlight, or just parts of the world that are maybe a bit misunderstood by people from where I'm from, or, you know, like things like that. And I wanted to also make it easier for other people to travel on a budget, because I was using like public transport and stuff. To some people that's like a mystery. So I would write like, literally, to get to this waterfall you wait outside KFC on this road and the bus is red and you pay whatever, like to try and make that type of travel more accessible to like anyone who would read the articles, you know. Right. And so yeah, so I knew from then that I wanted to do something with travel, but obviously I was at university, so I carried on studying, graduated, and just traveled like when I could. Then yeah, obviously I had to work, so I was mostly traveling in between like jobs, or when I could get vacation time, or I would always prioritize travel, so I would try and save for travel rather than like spending money on like clubbing or whatever. Right. And I would try and just like capitalize. I'd try and maybe pick jobs that had like short-term contracts so I could travel in between or stuff like that. But the whole time I couldn't really be that serious about content creation, because obviously I had to just call the website. It never really like took off like that. Some people read it, but it never, I felt like maybe I'm putting in too many hours for it to really be worth it, because like, where's it really going? I started to think maybe people are more into videos now, maybe that's why. So like I tried a few things, like I got a GoPro maybe like 6 years ago I got a GoPro, tried to like do a bit of YouTube. I wasn't really feeling it. I didn't really like having to walk around in public with like a massive selfie stick, but I just still knew I was looking for like the avenue where I can make it work for me, but I just hadn't really found it. Tried a bit with Instagram, always tried to update my story on my travels every day. People interacted, like they were interested, but I never had that many followers. But people always said like, oh, I want to know more about how you travel, you know. So I still knew like there was something there. I just didn't know really how. And when you're only going for 2 weeks and you're coming back and working, there's only so much you can really do. Do you know what I mean? So every time like I'd go away for 2 weeks, and I'd always like dream of like not having to come back like that, because it would always be like on the last day you'd realize, oh my god, I could actually cross the border into this other country in this region if I just had more time, or you know. And I always wanted to like do those things. So yeah, it was always kind of like a dream to just not have to come back type thing. So yeah, then obviously like I was saving money as time was going on. Like I said, I'm 31, so there's been a lot of years to, well, I'll be 31 tomorrow, so there's been like a lot of years to, you know, like save money. So yeah, obviously I'm lucky that like I come from a country where like even our minimum wage is like when you convert that currency, you know, can help you to travel in certain countries. So that's just like a random privilege that I happen to have. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. So then, 2 years ago I quit my jobs because I had saved enough money to where I thought, let me just try, and if it doesn't work out, I'll always just come back and get another job. Like I have a degree, I can always get a job. Luckily enough, I can always sleep at my mum's house, or it's not going to be like an emergency. Do you
That
know what I
backup plan is always there.
mean? Yeah, like I personally believe I can always get a job. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. I have 2 parents. Like I don't have a bedroom at either of their houses, but I'm sure they would not, you know, they'd always let me stay type thing, at least while I was getting. So yeah, I just thought like, why not just try, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I booked a one-way ticket to Jamaica like almost 2 years ago now, like in May 2022, because it's somewhere I wanted to go back to since that was my first ever solo trip. And well, yeah, I just randomly decided to do a daily vlog. Like everybody had TikTok by this point, so I just had it because like everyone had it.
We're talking 2 years ago at this point.
2 years ago now, yeah. So I'd had TikTok at this point maybe for like 6 months, posted a few things, but nothing really major because I was working. And then yeah, like on my first day in Jamaica, I just like decided to just like do a daily vlog. I don't know, like why not? And then I don't know, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, I might do it tomorrow. And then I just like did it. So now for the past 2 years I just haven't stopped. Yeah.
What do you think it is that has allowed you to draw people in the way that they have? Because I mean, as I said, I mean, as you said, you have been able to showcase out of the places that, you know, people might have misunderstood or don't always think to go. Like you had, and we'll get into it a little bit later, you went to Laventille the other day and that was a whole huge thing, right? What is it about the way that you create your content and the way that you showcase what you're going through and tell your stories that you think has really drawn people into what you are doing?
I think because they know what they're getting, because it's really consistent, because they get the daily vlog every single day, like, which I only have the time to do because I don't have a regular job. They know that every day they get to literally see my face when I wake up, no matter what I look like. They know that every day they get to see everything I eat, even if it doesn't look appealing. Do you know what I mean? I think because they know what they're getting and because it's so open, like really, even if I have a day where I don't even leave the house or have a shower, so you can literally see that because I'm in the same clothes, or you can see that all that's happened in the vlog is I've basically been in bed and gone to the fridge to get food. Like whatever happens that day, like they still get to see it pretty much. I think I took like 2 weeks off maybe when I was back in England like last year, but pretty much every day, even if I'm sick, even if I'm hungover, whatever, like they still get to see it. So I feel like maybe it's easy to like get invested because you're getting like an episode every day.
It's not a glammed up version. It's just what you are. It's literally what you are doing. A true representation.
It's a true day in the life.
A true day in the life.
Most people do a day in the life that is very much highly produced.
Come work with me, and we haven't seen you work yet.
It's very you know, manufactured.
But I think also usually because people like don't have the time to do it every day, they're only choosing to do it on a day when maybe they have something exciting going on. But like I suppose that's when someone does it every day, you're seeing like the ups and the downs, like, you know, whatever. So yeah, and then I guess also sometimes I'm a bit shameless, so some of like the interviews that I've managed to do, you know, sometimes I might interview like a food vendor or something like out on the street, and I suppose some people would, but some people wouldn't feel comfortable to like even ask for that interview or to stand on the street and do that interview, because of course it's embarrassing, like to go up to somebody who's maybe older and you don't even know if they even know what TikTok is and be like, oh, I really like your food, by the way, do you know what TikTok is? Like, like, you know, then I've got this like wired microphone, I have to get a stranger to hold the camera and not pull out the wire of the mic as we're passing it between ourselves, and there's customers waiting, getting annoyed at this stupid foreign girl standing here with this stupid wired microphone, trying not to get it to fall in the food, you know, like it's not like a super simple thing, do you know what I mean? So I suppose it can be fun to watch because maybe you don't get to see that all the time. I'm not saying like nobody does it, obviously some people do, but it's not a thing that everybody does, so naturally.
And you just don't see it because we typically get the produced versions of anything that people put on. You're just giving it to it raw
100%,
straight, 100%.
authentic, real.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to ask about like making money and stuff, and I think this is one problem, like maybe we're going to get onto it, but okay, I think people like that it's real, but that's people, that's not like companies. So I feel like I feel like this is an issue that I'm now having, is that I'm about to reach 200,000 followers and I barely get like any paid promos, and yet I get loads of people saying, oh, you inspire me every day, you know, you inspire me, I love how you're so real, I love how you show that you don't have to wear makeup, I love how you show that you don't have to do things with a man, whatever. But like nobody, that's individual people. Like they like brands. It, but brands are not going to like it, are they? Because
but you know, honestly, I think the brand. Who cares about brands? I think what needs to be showcased more is you can travel, but how are you sustaining yourself? So even if it's like you were talking about, you were doing the couch surfing, you were doing small contracts, like just so people can see that there's more ways to generate revenue than working a regular day, a regular 8 to 5, or pretending to do whatever they got to do online so they can get brands to work with. Like there are ways to generate money, and again, I just think it's always good for people to see a variety of ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just depends so much on your situation though, because I really believe that, like, unfortunately, if I was like born in Trinidad and had been doing similar jobs, so the jobs I was doing was literally like I did waitressing, I did receptionist, I did taking care of disabled people, classroom assistant in schools. Like if I'd been doing those jobs here, I wouldn't have made enough to like save to travel. Do you know what I mean? Because of the unfair like economy that we have in the world. And so I just think like we do need to be careful with this conversation, because I don't think we can sit here and be like, oh, that's all you have to do type thing, because it literally depends where you are. Do you know what I mean? And it depends. Like I'm fortunate enough that I've chosen not to have children. I live in a country where even if I do get pregnant, I have choices. Do you get it? Like we all are born into such like different circumstances and grow up in such different circumstances that I just don't think there's one answer like for everyone. And even, you know, me being able to say that, like I'm really not worried, because if one day this goes wrong or I decide I don't want to do it, like I literally can go to my mum's house. Okay, I don't have a bedroom there that's dedicated to me, but luckily enough for me, her house is big enough that there's still somewhere for me to sleep. She doesn't mind me staying there. She's not struggling with the bills, so it's not an issue like that. And I know that I can get a job because I've been lucky enough to go to university. I have a degree. I know how to interview at a job interview. Do you know what I mean? Like, and so I just know that that's not the case for everyone. So I think it's really not like a one size fits all situation. And like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no. There isn't a one size fits all. I think the most important part is that everybody can take away a piece from what everybody's story is. Because I'm Canadian. I moved here a couple of years ago as well. I pretty much had the same situation as you. Where if I really want to, if everything in Trinidad or the Caribbean goes up in smoke, it's easy for me. I'm a Canadian citizen. I could just go back to Toronto and live my life like whatever. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that I think it's also important to highlight that element as well, because I think unfortunately sometimes you have people who are trying to get into certain spaces just to see what brand deals they get, or you know what kind of free trips that they can get. So when it comes to content creation, we are in a funny space where you have people like yourself that are doing it for the love of it. They love people, they love traveling, they love seeing new places and having experiences. But then you also have people who are just trying to get into to make a quick buck. So I think it's also important to highlight that if you really do want to get into travel content creation, you, at the end of everything, you need to have a genuine love for what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the word quick is like the key word in this situation, because I think maybe you could make it quickly. Like, I believe that like I'm playing a long game here, because I've turned down like so many offers for like money because they've been to promote things that I don't want to promote.
Right.
And like obviously if I was playing like a quick game to get quick money, I just would have said yes to all of them. But I personally believe, maybe I'm wrong, but I personally believe that like my followers and whoever value the fact that like what I'm showing is real, and if I say I like something I do, and things like this. And so I think that like I can grow slowly by like having that trust and that genuine like relationship with my followers, I guess, rather than just saying, oh yeah guys, come to the shop, oh yeah, come to this restaurant. Like I believe that maybe would work for what, a year or 6 months or however long, and I'd pocket all that cash, but then like what after that?
What
after?
I mean?
So
exactly.
I'm trying to play a long game, and like hopefully it works.
It will.
And plus I just can't really lie, like I'm literally, so it just wouldn't work anyway for me to promote stuff that I don't like. But yeah, I don't know, I guess the whole content creation kind of as a career, it's quite a new thing anyway, so I suppose we're all just still
figuring it out as
you know what I mean. Nobody really knows exactly who's gonna win or who's gonna you know. Do you have a for lack of a better phrase, do you have an itinerary in terms of what your travel destinations are? So of course you're here right now with us in Trinidad and Tobago, but for the rest of the year, do you have like a set list of other countries, or is it more like on a whim? No, it's on so much of a whim. So like basically I don't even have an onwards flight. I mean, like some people don't know this, but you can just like buy, if you want to enter a country and not have an onwards flight, like most airlines offer like a 24-hour refund policy, so you just buy an onwards flight when you're about to board the first flight, and then you just refund it once you land after you've got through customs. So like I don't have an onwards flight because I did that. So yeah, I don't know. I actually want to go to maybe like El Salvador or like Nicaragua, somewhere in Latin America. Just because I feel like it's time for a new adventure, and it's really nice always coming back to Trinidad. And like I was in Guyana just now, where I've already been, and that is really nice. But like I also still have, as I had when I was younger, a desire for like new adventures and new challenges.
Right.
So obviously I'm in Trinidad. It's quite close to Latin America, so to me that makes sense.
Right.
To go there next. So yeah, I actually applied this morning for one volunteer thing in Honduras. It's like a teaching English thing. They have like a kind of English club, like after school English club or something, and they want to have like people come for like a month minimum to, you know, practice conversation or whatever. So I applied for that this morning. So they would give me like, you know, a room and lunch in exchange for doing this. So if they say yes, then I guess I'm going to Honduras.
Hey.
If they don't say yes, then I'll just have to keep
Figure it out.
Figure it out. So I know teaching English, I know like that has been something that has been sort of the go-to for a lot of nomads and a lot of people who actually want to travel as well. Like they can, you know, lean into teaching English as a second language, as a means to travel, you know, live in another country for quite some time and then moving on.
Yeah.
But considering that the travel space has grown exponentially, have you noticed that it's becoming a bit more saturated compared to a few years ago? Or would you say it's something that if someone is interested in getting involved in traveling more often, is it something that they can still viably get into?
What, teaching English?
Teaching English as a foreign language, yeah.
Well, so I did a qualification in it actually a really long time ago, like in my early 20s. So I think probably you don't maybe have quite so much chance unless you actually have a qualification, because naturally the more competition there is, you'd have to like stand out with. I mean, I don't know, I'm just guessing, but so I'd recommend, I mean, you can even do them online actually, like a TEFL course. I did mine in person, but yeah, there's different ones, and like there's so much information available about it online. So yeah, I would say people should definitely do a course, but I think you can still, there's lots of companies, like online companies, for example, Cambly, VIP Kids, who they're often recruiting, but personally the problem with that is that if you work for a company to teach English, there's like certain requirements about your internet speed and your background behind you on the webcam and stuff, which I can't fulfill if I'm staying in a different place every 3 days. So I work for myself rather than for a company. But if somebody was able to have like more of a stable internet connection and, you know, being at one place for a longer time, then yeah, they could, for sure. I think they could still work for those companies. Or you can just go and do it in person. Like if you want to live in Thailand, you can literally go to Thailand and get a job in Thailand in a school. You know, I think it's still a viable option.
All right. So that was actually pretty good, and we're gonna have to put a pin in that for just 2 seconds. I have a lot of questions for you right after, but we have to pay some bills. And so this Monday, March 25th, tune in to Freedom 106.5, Sangit 106.1, and Sky 99.5 FM for a special lunchtime doctor edition on endometriosis awareness from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Join the conversation with Dr. Brittany Dean, a renowned pal, and take the opportunity to send your questions via WhatsApp at 306-1065 and call 627-3223. Remember to tune in to Freedom 106.5 FM, Sangit 106.1, and Sky 99.5 FM on Monday from noon for the special edition of Lunchtime Doctor with Dr. Vishal Bahal.
And the European Business Chamber in Trinidad and Tobago, Eurocham TT, in partnership with the United Nations, recognizes businesses in Trinidad and Tobago with sustainability initiatives. These businesses have made progress by implementing policy change and investments that can lead to positive sustainability impacts to the environment, their operations and society, as well as maintaining high standards of governance. Eurocham TT hosted its second Sustainability Champions Awards and celebrated large companies and SMEs. Listen for the recording of Eurocham TT Sustainability Champions Awards 2024 right here on Freedom 106.5 on Wednesday, March 27th from 9 a.m. And now, Zoe, back to you. We have so many questions. Racolia, you can kick us back off.
Yeah, so we spoke about teaching English as a foreign language, but for those, again, who want to, travel more and be able to work all over, what are some other things that they can do as well? Or other jobs, I should say.
Well, I feel like I wish I knew the answer to that too, really, because like in the beginning when I quit my jobs like 2 years ago and I started like doing the TikTok and stuff, I didn't really think it was really gonna make me any money like ever. So I was really actually looking for like a fully remote job that I could just do from anywhere. But to be honest, I didn't really find one. So I think yeah, it really comes down to either teaching English, whether that's in person or online, or maybe if you have a skill like web development or something, which I think that's a really cool skill to have, because then you can just work freelance, right? Like you can get clients from anywhere, you can travel with your laptop. Maybe if you're, I don't know, like a photographer, videographer, I guess you can go around the world and do that. But I don't have any skills like that. So I think also it would be an option to like obviously save a bit of money and then do these volunteering things that I've spoken about. So with like Workaway, it's workaway.info, it's not .com. So sometimes people go on the wrong website.
Workaway.info.
.info, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Like with Workaway, there's such a variety of things on there. Like if you want to just work in the reception at a backpacker hostel, which you don't need too many crazy skills for, or if you want to work on a farm, there's ones where you can like babysit people's kids. There's ones where you just have to help a mum with a bit of housekeeping and stuff because she's had a newborn baby. There's ones where you have to help with, I don't know, labeling bottles of wine in a homemade wine business in the middle of the jungle. Like there's really anything. There's like helping paint a new house, helping build bamboo cabins at somebody's new eco resort. Like there's just so many things on there, teaching yoga, whatever. So if you can just save the money for the flight and obviously like a little bit of emergency money,
right,
then you can like go, really they have Workaway in every country in the world as far as I'm aware, maybe not like, I don't know, Palestine, but you know what I mean? Like,
right.
So yeah, like to make an account, it costs maybe like £30 for a year. And you just have to fill in like what work experience you have, what you're interested in, things like that, what your skills are. And then, yeah, you can just message an unlimited amount of hosts. So you could literally apply in like 10 countries and I'm sure you'll get one. Do you know what I mean? So, and you can go even sometimes, like I stayed for 3 months when I first did a Workaway in Moruga in Trinidad. So you can stay for a long time, like if you're maybe between jobs or you've just finished studying or something like that. And you're going to just learn so much more about the culture, in my opinion, through doing that, especially if you stay a long time rather than through like staying in a hotel. Do you know what I mean?
Like the typical touristy
route.
Yeah. Do you have a process for your videos, whether it's your videos, your blogs? Do you have a like a content plan, or is it that you wake up and you're like, you know what, based on what I just did, I should probably do
Zoe
content
is about
on
vibes.
Yeah, we just live off the vibes. Like I always see these things, when I'm scrolling TikTok, which I don't do much, but when I do scroll TikTok, I always see, because the algorithm knows you, right? So it always shows me like, this should be your content plan, all these things, and I'm literally just like,
content plan.
Like,
not interested.
Yeah, like it just happens. Like, yeah. In the words of Pimpin, it just happens. Like it just happens. I don't know, because sometimes. So for example, the other day, when I was still in Guyana, I was getting food, and then the person who I was buying food from was like an ITIL food vendor in a market. He was like, "Oh, are you not putting me in your video?" And I was like, "Yeah, you already filmed the food. Come on, like you don't even see." And he was like, "No, but like put me in more." And I was like, "Well, okay, let's do an interview then." And he was like, okay. And obviously I always walk with my microphone, like, because it's so small, like I keep it everywhere in case something like this happens. And then I was just like, well, find me a friend to hold the camera then. And he was like, okay. And then he just called some guy, and then we just like did an interview. And then it's still being shared on Facebook now, like 5 days later. It's got like, I don't know, hundreds of shares and whatever. And that just came from like nothing. Do you know what I mean? So I just carry my mic at all times and just keep my eyes open for
stay ready, stay prepared.
Yeah.
That's literally the definition of staying ready right there.
Yeah, and then obviously we already know the daily vlog is happening every day. So at the end of the day, if that's the only thing that happens, well, that's fine.
Still content.
Yeah, and sometimes it depends like how I'm feeling, because like I said before, like it can be a bit embarrassing, and it is still out of my comfort zone sometimes to like be speaking to the camera in public or to be requesting like interviews from other people. So it really just depends how I feel that day. Like I could go to the same restaurant 3 times and I might always want to vlog my lunch at that restaurant, but it might only be on the Tuesday that I actually have enough confidence to like stand there and be like, hey guys, come with me to green vegetarian blah 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 on blah 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 street. This is a sign, like we're gonna go in front of like everyone. It's just not every day that I feel to do that.
So I got a question about confidence. Right now, you had to build up the confidence to start creating content and getting on video, and it sounds like you still are trying to overcome that fear, I guess, of putting yourself out there a bit, because you have to do it on days that you want to, right?
Yeah.
For those people who, when they're thinking about creating content, and putting themselves out there and are petrified at doing that, right?
Yeah.
You know, what are some of the things that you would tell those people who are, again, they haven't started this yet because they're petrified? What are some of those things that you would tell
I would
those people
say,
that
like,
start
it's
want
probably not for everyone. So if you literally, like, are shuddering at the thought of it, then, like, maybe you should just choose another career path. But, like, if you're determined that this is for you, then for me personally, like, usually if I really want to film something but I feel like a bit embarrassed, then I usually just have a conversation with myself, not like out loud obviously, where I just basically ask myself, like, what's the worst that can happen? And usually the answer is, like, people will just look at you funny, and, like, what are you really trying to achieve here? Like,
Zoe,
if
stick a pin. We have a caller calling in right now. Let's see if we can bring them in. Hold on one second. Let me see if hi, caller. Good day. You're live on Digital World.
Hello, guys. Good day.
Good day.
Sorry for that. I just want to speak to Zoe. Zoe, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you? I didn't know the show had callers, so I'm really surprised.
Okay, I just calling to find out if I want to get in contact with you to take later over in Trinidad. How can I do that? Can I send a message to you or something?
Hey.
Yeah, so I have, like, an email address for serious inquiries, even though most people, they just email me saying, hi love, can I take you on a date? But, so my email address is travelwithzoe@yahoo.com.
All right, okay.
But
thank you.
But don't just say hi. Say, like, hi, my name is blah blah blah. I'd like to invite you here because, do you know what I mean? Like, spill all the beans in the first email.
All right, no problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right,
Thank you very much. Don't be surprised. You'll probably get a few more of that, Zoe.
No, the inquiries are just so ridiculous. Anyway, so yeah, I just say to myself, what's the worst that can happen? And then I say to myself, like, if you're on your deathbed, will you be happy that you know, did this really cool interview and it led to all these opportunities, or will you be happy that you just were too scared? And obviously we know the answer, so I just have to try and think of, like, the bigger picture and, like, what do I really want here? Like, I quit my jobs 2 years ago. Yeah, I can go back to England, but do I want to do that? No. Do I really have anything waiting for me there apart from, you know, my family and stuff? No. So come on, just get cracking. I don't know, like,
I love it. We have another question that came in on the WhatsApp line. Let me read it out. All right. So it says, a quick question for traveling with Zoe. Zoe, can you tell me about possible travel into Florence? I would like to see the city in 2 nights, 3 days. And what suggestions do you have for a possible public transport versus taking tours and hotels versus Airbnbs? Could you give me some experience if you've had any in Florence?
This is so specific. So I actually don't have experience of Florence. I have been to Italy, but I am really good at, like, researching travel stuff because obviously that's what I have to do for myself. So I do actually have, the link is in my TikTok bio. I actually offer, this is another thing I offer as well as English teaching, like travel planning services. So if somebody gives me the time, I can, like, make them an itinerary and stuff, and I can find out all the juicy information. So if this person goes in the link in my Instagram or TikTok bio, they can, it's like $20 for a 30-minute Zoom call, and then I can, like, help them with their travel planning. Or well, I guess, yeah, I mean, I would just recommend, because I don't know about Florence specifically, I would just recommend literally going on Google and typing in Florence public transport and just reading loads of articles. It takes time. I mean, that's what somebody would be paying me to do if they decide to pay me. So either you pay me the 20 US or you do it yourself. Do you know what I mean? So if you hate reading, then maybe pay me the 20 US. If you like reading, then
go for it.
Then maybe do it yourself. But there are so many travel blogs out there. People do still write, you know, on WordPress and things like that. You can even go on TikTok and type in Florence travel tips. Like, there is so much out there.
And then also, I'm sure it depends on what type of traveler they are as well, because, you know, you have those who are, like, also foodies, you have the adventure travelers, those who are really big into culture. So maybe having an idea of, like, what type of traveler they are as well, that can help them knowing what type of activities and things to do.
And which types of blogs to read and stuff like that. But with public transport, like in Italy in general, the places that I did use it in Italy, it was very good. It was quite affordable. So I say go for it. Use the public transport. You'll probably see some interesting things on there too.
Zoe, you are a specialist at finding the places that most people dare not go. How do you find those off the beaten path destinations? We've seen you just do trips to waterfalls alone. You know, how do you find?
To be honest, there's usually like 3 ways, I guess. So So I really love Google Maps. Like, I swear by Google Maps. And I know in the Caribbean, some people don't trust Google Maps whatsoever, and they think the pin drop is always wrong. But I love Google Maps, and obviously Google Maps shows you, you know, supermarkets or whatever, but it also shows you like waterfalls and other things. And so usually if I'm just in like a new location, I literally just open up Google Maps and just like have a look around like where I am, and then I'll see like, you know, it'll say like Blue Falls, and I'll be like, oh, what's Blue Falls? And I'll just like click on it, and then, you know, it'll show you some photos, because it has so many functions. It shows you photos, it'll have some people saying, I went to the falls and it was so refreshing. There's, you know, like the reviews. Yeah. And so sometimes there's only like 2 reviews and 2 photos, but that's enough. Like, if it looks good, then I might maybe Google the name of that falls, see if there's any articles as well, like piece together what information I can find. And if I can't find much, then I'll probably just look at like what village it's in, like from the map, and then go to the bus station and say, hello, how do I get a bus to this village? Or, you know, whatever country I'm in, it depends, but basically try and make my way there, and then look for a road sign, use the map function, or just ask somebody, do you know Blue Falls? How do I get there? Whatever, and just go. Or so yeah, it would come from Google Maps. That's really happened a lot of times, is it's come from Google Maps. But one time, oh my god, I have such a bad story.
Oh, we gotta hear it.
One time when it's so embarrassing. So one time I was in Tobago. This was literally like, I was doing vlogging. It was like 2 years ago, I think, less than 2 years ago. And I was on Google Maps. Like, I wanted to go to a waterfall that was like close by and not difficult, because I was having like a lazy day. And so I found this one, and the last review was from like 4 years ago, and they were like, it's right by the roadside. It's so easy. So I was like, oh my god, perfect. So like got the bus there, and I hitchhiked there actually, and it was like right by the main road, so I could see it from the road. You just had to walk down some steps. I was like, this is amazing, there's no one there, I have it to myself, like how amazing. So, you know, you walk down from the main road, and then you kind of like scramble up some rocks to get to like the pool and the falls itself. So I did this, and so from the road people could kind of see you a little bit, like from if they're driving along. And so I get in, you know, I'm just sitting there taking my little videos, whatever. It's not deep. I'm just kind of sitting on the edge with like my feet in the water. And then cars keep beeping like as they're passing. And I'm like, oh, maybe they're just saying hello. Like, you know, people beep their horns a lot, like in the Caribbean. And then after like 20 minutes or like half an hour, like a police car stops like at the roadside by where you walk down to get to this falls. And then like I was just like, oh, maybe they're just stopping for like to, like I don't know, like pee by the side of the road or something. I don't know, like, I didn't like think anything. And then they like shouted something to me, but it was like men, like police men, and I was just like, oh, like maybe they're just like saying hello, like, because, you know, I don't know, I just didn't like think anything. And then they like signaled like come here. So I was like, okay. So then I obviously like got down from the waterfall, took like 5 minutes, scrambled out, and then went there, and they were like, you're not allowed to be here. And I was like, oh, like, what do you mean? And they were like, oh, come here, like there's a sign. But basically the sign, it had like fallen down because someone had like crashed into it, so I genuinely like hadn't seen it had like bent in half. But basically it said that this is like Wassa water supply, and you can't bathe in it. So basically I've been bathing in the people's water supply. So I was like, oh, sorry. They were like, yeah, you need to leave. Well, they were like, you can sit on the grass, but you can't go in the water.
Yo.
I'm just imagining one day, you know, someone saying, you know, the water, it tastes a little different today.
But the thing is, yeah, but I feel like it is kind of bad. But also, sorry, they should have like had a proper sign. And also, at least I kind of feel like, because it's a literal waterfall, there could be like stray dogs going there, birds. It's not only, I'm not the only living being that's like been in that water. But I had to like literally be told by police to get out of the waterfall. And basically, I said to them, oh, I'd read these reviews, but I think it was that it didn't used to be a water supply. So since the last review, it had become like a water supply.
That's why it was probably 4 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that, yeah, sometimes that can happen. Or sometimes you try and go somewhere on Google Maps and like it no longer exists or whatever. Anyway, so yeah, usually it's either something from Google Maps or something from like TikTok or Instagram or like a travel blog that I've read.
Yeah.
Or just if I'm like on a bus or in like a taxi and somebody says to me, oh, there's this really cool thing in our neighborhood, it's called, you know, whatever, and then I'll just like say, oh, okay, how do I get there, and make a note of the instructions and whatever. Yeah, so
Zoe, you have been asked a lot over the years. I mean, as a woman, as a foreigner coming into these places, you know, and people are always but people are always warning you about the dangers of this.
Some people are wishing bad on me. Some people are. Some people can't wait for the day that they think is going to come, where the newspaper says that Travel with Zoe's body was found in the river. Some people cannot wait for that day. I'm
That is
telling you.
unreal. That is ridiculous.
I mean,
I'm not joking.
That is
I mean, we've heard that from a lot of people. We've heard that from Anastasia.
Yeah.
You know, people are wilding out here, right?
People are unnecessarily cruel.
Unnecessarily cruel, right? You know, but when it comes to, you know, the solo travel and going to all of these places, you know, what is it that for you gives you the confidence and just being comfortable to just talk to people and just navigate these spaces?
So it's like various things. So the first thing is that, okay, so I'm actually autistic, and so I think about everything in an extremely like logical manner. I think about everything literally in terms of like maths and like
ones and zeros,
literal things, not like newspaper
Abstract.
headlines.
Yeah.
So I personally believe, I don't know about you guys, maybe you can let me know, that if we plucked like 100 or 1,000 like random people from the streets of the world and we put them in a line here and we looked at them and we had to decide like how many of them would probably actually murder someone, I don't know about you, but I reckon it would probably be about 2 in a bunch of 1,000 people, wherever you pick them from, whether you pick them from Trinidad, France, wherever you pick them from, right? I don't know about you. What do you think? Like, how much % of random people in the whole world?
I can see that logic.
Like less than 1%, right?
Yeah,
like, how many do you think would actually murder someone?
I think, honestly, I generally think people are good, but situations and circumstances is what.
Right, but like
drives good
just
people.
murdering a random like person without having previous beef.
I'd
like,
say
what,
I'd say 20%. I'd say out of 1,000, I'd say 20%.
20%.
Yeah.
20% of people in the world you think would murder a random person?
I mean, there's some. You know what it is? I'm watching SVP right now. Special Victims, SVU.
SVU, Law and Order. So he's tainted.
I'm tainted right now. I'm sorry, I'm
He's
tainted right
watching
now.
Law and Order.
Okay.
Right
I'm
now.
watching a lot.
Right. Well, so you think it's like 1% or less,
think
right?
it's
The 20%
very
is crazy to me because otherwise there would be way more murders
That'd be
happening
It's
every
pretty
single
high.
day. Anyway, cool. But you're entitled to believe
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
So,
go ahead.
So because I personally believe that, and even if you do the maths, like I've literally done maths. I've literally done calculations of like even the town with the highest murder rate in the entire world. I've done the maths about your daily percentage chance of being killed, and it's literally so low. So anyway, because I believe that like if we take 100 or 1,000 or however many random people, very few of them would actually murder someone.
A random
like,
person at that.
Yeah, like I just think that like it's kind of like every time you cross the road, like a crazy car like might run you over. But because the chance is so low, let's say 1%, it's just not what you think about when you're crossing the road. And like when you go swimming in the sea, there's a chance that like a riptide might take you, or a fish like a shark, something depending where you are, might bite you, or you might drown. There's a real chance. But because it's about 1%, it's just not what you think about when you go in the sea. So like I just think with everything you do, like even like when we get in a car, especially in countries like a lot of countries I travel to where like there's not really that much law and order on the road, you might crash. And I'm sorry, but I think your chance of crashing and dying,
Higher than being murdered.
well, maybe not higher, but it's
It's
Yeah,
comparable.
it's kind of there. Maybe not dying, but crashing again.
Yeah.
You know,
It's an
something bad
accident.
happens to you. So anyway, I just think that like most people aren't murderers. Most people in the world, all they really want is like to love and be loved by the people around them, to maybe have a family, maybe have what they deem as a successful career, have a few hobbies, have some nice food, have girls, boys, whatever it is, party a bit, you know, whatever it is that they like really most people just want that. Like most people are simply not out there to get you, and like a few people are, but usually you can possibly tell from some red flags. If you can't tell from the red flags and you do decide to trust the wrong person, you might be able to escape still, because you can run away, you can call someone, you can, you know.
Yeah.
And so all these stages that you'd have to go through like to actually get murdered.
Yeah.
Like so to number one, catch that 1% person, you know, hitchhike with the 1%, then not notice the red flags to actually like end up choosing not to hitchhike with him or whatever. And then if he starts to show stuff, to then not be able to escape from his car, like just all those stages. Like I just think that the percentage chance of it happening is just not high enough for me to let it stop me chasing my dreams. And like the chance is certainly there, and like every time like I you know, go hiking by myself through these fields of banana trees where I've lost my phone signal because it's so far in the bush, of course I think of it. Like of course I acknowledge, oh, I have no phone signal right now and I can't hear anything except the birds. The main road is gone all the way down there. If somebody wanted to come and stalk me and kill me or rape me or whatever right now, of course they could. There's literally nothing I could do. I can run, but I'm not very fast. Where am I going to run? Like it's done. It's game over if they want to. and I accept that. But like,
You're not letting that hold you back.
I don't think that it's very likely. So I'm still going to do it because the freedom that I feel when I'm walking through the fields of banana trees, hence the banana tree tattoo, is unmatched, and that is what makes me alive. Do you know what I mean? Not literally alive, but like my soul or whatever.
Going, yeah.
And so I'm going to do it. And you know, lots of people, there are just so many hobbies that might kill you. Smoking weed and drinking being one of them. And you know, there are people who they're really passionate about like motorbikes and they do like bike tricks and things like this, and I think we should celebrate them for that. Like if that's what they want to do, I think we should encourage them, their passion, and they obviously know the risks, like they're not stupid, do you know what I mean? So I don't think we should go around telling them, don't do that, never do that again, don't do that, you're gonna die, wait till you're on the front cover of the newspaper. No, I think we should either go to the bike show and support them, you know, like their pictures, like their videos, or stay out of it. Do you know what I mean? Because when I see people who go to the rum shop at 10 a.m. every day, I stay out of it, even though I think they're probably going to die of some kind of, you know, liver problem or whatever. But I'm not going to say that to them because I'm not bad vibes like that. Do you know what I mean?
Travel with Zoe.
So what would you have a lot of people who, of course, one of their main, you know, goals and desires is to travel, but they think that it's expensive. And yes, of course, depending on the destination you're going to, it can be pretty pricey. But what are some of your tips that you would give to those who are interested in traveling, how they can travel on a budget without sacrificing, you know, having a great experience?
Yeah. Well, I guess it does depend. Like, I think you have to think about what you're willing to compromise on. Mm-hmm. So, like, I know that for myself, I'm okay to just like eat rice and lentils and bananas basically every day if it means that I can travel for twice as long as I could compared to like, you know, eating more fancy things every day, whatever.
Every day, yeah.
But some people really need a variety of food, otherwise they feel sad or whatever. Like some people, you know, not everybody, some people can't be happy whilst doing that. So I think you have to sit down and think like, what can you sacrifice on? Is it the food? Like what's your minimum standard basically? So like my minimum standard is that I can charge my phone at some point, even if I have to camp in a field or leave it in the owner's house. I have to be able to charge my phone somehow. I have to be able to get some protein, whether it's lentils, chickpeas, whatever it is. I just need some protein so I can survive, and I need some fruits. And like I'll share a room with boys, I'll share a room with girls. If it's like a hostel dorm, I don't care. Like I said, once I can charge my phone, and once there's some kind of water, even if it's not running water, I just need to be able to like bathe and stuff. Do you know what I mean? So that's like my like standards. But you have to just like think, what are your standards? And what else was I going to say? Oh yeah. So then try and get stuff that's the lowest standard you can, because then you can because like if there's 3 choices for your accommodation, one costs £60, one costs 30, and one costs 20. If you get the one that costs 20, you can travel for 3 times as long.
Right. Yeah.
Like, and all the time, like people say to me like, oh, you shouldn't have got that room because there was a better one down the road for only £60. And I'm like, what do you mean only 60 when mine costs 30? About only. I can literally travel for twice as long. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, just try and everyone's going to laugh at me, but yeah, just try and stay at the place that's the lowest standard you possibly can for what you can survive with. But no, on a serious note, I think flights can take up a lot of your money. And so I think being really committed to like tracking flight prices is such a thing. So I use Skyscanner, which is an app, and it has a feature where you can like track the flight.
Skyscanner?
Yeah. So if I want to go,
call me out in that right
if
now.
I want to go to like Madrid, let's say, from London, like on January the 15th, then I would type that into like the search terms, and it might show me, okay, it's currently £200. It wouldn't be, it'd probably be like 50, but it's currently £200. Then there's this like bell like symbol at the top, and if you press the bell and then you type in your email address, they'll email you if London to Madrid on the 20th of whatever month has gone up or gone down. And so it'll come in your inbox every day. And so then I often use that feature, and if I notice it's gone down, I'll quickly jump on it and just buy it. Not if it's gone down by £1, but you know what I mean. And so there's that. Or there's also like another feature on Skyscanner where if you're quite open to your destination, like which I am, like for example now I'm willing to basically go anywhere in Latin America, whichever one makes sense, like financially and stuff. So there's a feature on Skyscanner where you can type in, like if you're flying from Port of Spain, you type in like Port of Spain, and then in the destination, instead of putting like El Salvador, you just type everywhere, and then it actually will show you, and then you put the date, and then it will show you for that date, like in order of price. Okay, so the cheapest place you can fly from Trinidad on the 20th of January is Jamaica, then it's Barbados, and it will literally show you in order of price and how much it is. So literally a lot of my trips have just happened when I was like living in London, have just happened by me going on that and being like, oh, actually it's quite cheap for me to go to Ghana when I have time off, so let's just go there. Like,
you showcased a lot of places that you stayed at, right? And there's always been mixed reactions in the comment section, right? Have you ever gone to a place where even you were like, my standards are low, but this is
like,
no.
Like, I've been to places where I'm like, my standards are low and I don't really like this that much, but I've never been to a place where I'm like, I need to leave. I've literally never, like, I've always slept there at least for one night. I've maybe left earlier than planned, but I've always slept there at least one night. I don't, unless I'm forgetting something, I've never freaked out to the point where like I have to not stay. It's just like sometimes I might be like, okay, do you know what? I just know I'm not really going to sleep here very well because there's so many mosquitoes and so much noise. So maybe I'll just try and change my plans to where maybe I stay here a bit less time. But like, I've just learned like a lot of tactics for surviving like kind of slightly uncomfortable accommodation. So for example, I used to travel with a sleeping bag liner, which is like a kind of thin material, a bit like a sleeping bag, but not thick. It's just really thin. And so the purpose of that is that if you're staying somewhere where like the sheets are dirty, to be honest, you have your own one. You just get inside it, so you don't even have to touch anything else because you're inside it. It even has a bit that goes under your head. And so I used to travel with that so that if the sheets just don't look the cleanest or whatever, well, actually I don't need to freak out. I can just get in my sleeping bag liner. So I have like a lot of tactics. I have like a little bathroom bag that has like toilet roll and hand sanitizer. It comes with me, it's even in there, it comes with me everywhere. So, you know, if the bathroom has none of that, it just comes, and because it's in a plastic bag, you can hang it on like the little door hook side of thing. So I just have these little ways of like navigating like less than ideal.
You got a survival kit basically.
Yeah.
What are your must-haves? You can't leave.
Well, yeah, the toilet paper and the hand sanitizer are just always there. And then the power bank in case like the electricity's just not working right now or whatever. Like the power bank, I always make sure it's fully charged when I can. Obviously the multi-purpose plug adapter, obviously my own towel because they might not always give you a towel, you might not want to use a towel, you know. So I have like a travel towel. It's like made of this like microfiber. It's really thin so it can dry really quickly and it's really light. It's in there as well. So yeah, that. And then obviously like different shoes, so like slippers as well as sneakers or whatever, so that if you need to like go in a certain gross shower or like whatever, just different shoes. And washing powder as well, because there might not be, as in clothes washing powder, because there might not be like laundry facilities. So I've literally figured out how to wash my clothes just under a running shower, in like weird containers. Like I think one time I did it in like a champagne bucket.
You MacGyver that. I love it.
You know, yeah, that kind of thing really. Oh, and I travel with like a it's like a silk scarf that I'll put over a pillow if I feel like, so it's a bit like a pillowcase. I put it over a pillow if I feel like the pillow's like maybe not clean, or I don't like them with fabric or something. Yeah, and a hoodie, because sometimes like places are actually cold, like because they put like some AC and it's broken, so you can't like turn it to a hotter thing or something, and you can't turn it off. Or if you're in a shared hostel dorm and you're with like 8 people from around the world, it's like a fight for the remote, because like I'll put it on, I'm like a weirdo, I put AC on like 27, so I'll put it on like 27, and then there'll be like some weird German boy putting it on like 19, and then like in the night I'll wake up and like but then you wake up like shivering, the other people put it back down again. So yeah, like a hoodie is always essential.
What about your gear? So again, I know some people like they like, in addition to travel, now I have to like invest in all of this, you know, tech gear and cameras and all that. So what would you say to that? What are you using? So I'm, I guess, like lucky. So I just use my phone. It is quite a good phone, but I just use my phone. And the microphone cost me like £5. It's just a plug-in microphone. But I think I'm like lucky, or it was my choice, but lucky in that sense that like my videos, the style, like the content that I create suits like quite like a raw, unedited style. So I'm lucky that like it doesn't really matter that there's like a cabled microphone in my videos, because that's the kind of style of my videos anyway. Yeah. So it's okay for me, but I'm sure for some people, if they were shooting like luxury travel content, that wouldn't suit the style. So then maybe they would need like microphones like this. Maybe they would possibly need better
tripods, for example, with like self-time, like the thing you can press,
the remote to
the
time
remote,
it.
yeah. Like I don't even have a remote, so I just I do have a tiny tripod, but I often don't have it with me, so I just balance my phone on a rock, or like I've got really good at making like a tripod out of like a toilet roll thing and a water bottle and stuff, so
make it work.
But then it's okay, like my lighting doesn't have to be perfect, whereas some people, they might need those clip-on like lights. So I think you do really have to think about the image that like you're happy to give off with your content, because I'm not trying to keep it a secret that like I don't want to have to carry many things around, especially as I'm often on like crowded buses or in crowded markets. Like I usually just try and like, this is what would come with me to like a market or something, so it just has like my microphone and my power bank and then my phone in my hand, and I don't want to have to carry like a million more things. And even the value of them as well, like my phone has phone insurance, and like I can hold it in my hand quite easily, kind of quite securely, but I wouldn't really feel that comfortable, not that I like think I'm gonna get robbed, but like even I might accidentally leave the bag somewhere, I might get robbed, it might rain and it might all get wet, like it's just feels like a liability to like have so much value like on you, because really the only thing I have that's valuable is literally this, I think. So I quite like that the only valuable thing I really have is like in my hand at all times, you know. I don't know.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna come back to you in a second, so we just have to pay some bills. So guys, this Monday, March 25th, tune in to Freedom 106.5, Sangeet 106.1, and Sky 99.5 FM for a special lunchtime doctor edition on endometriosis awareness from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Join the conversation with Dr. Brittany Dean and renowned specialist Dr. Vishal Bahal, and take the opportunity to send in your questions via WhatsApp at 306-1065 and call 627-3223. Remember to tune in to Freedom 106.5, Sangeet 106.1, and Sky 99.5 FM on Monday from noon for the special edition of Lunchtime Doctor with Dr. Vishal Bahal.
And folks, don't forget, you can unlock your dreams with Carmino Properties International Limited. With 15 plus years of expertise in real estate, from sales to rentals and property development, they are your trusted partner. Call 326-5600 or visit CarminoProperties.com. Carmino Properties, improving lives one home at a time. Now, Zoe, back to you. Like I said, there's been so many questions that we have fielded from the public, because I mean your audience loves you, and I think you have a very interesting story, right? Now, what has been so far of all the travels you have gone to, what has been the most memorable travel experience you have had that you really did not expect it to be as good as it was?
To be honest, it was probably when I first came to Trinidad. Like that's maybe when I first went to Jamaica, the first solo trip, and also when I first came to Trinidad, because when I first came to Trinidad, it was my first workaway experience as well. It's my first time using the volunteering website. Right. And so I just, that's something completely new, like going to these people that all you've read about them is their description and a couple of reviews, and not knowing, am I going to be good at the tasks they asked me to do? Am I going to get on with the family? Am I going to understand their accent? Am I going to like the food? Yeah. And I read the description, it said it's in the rural deep south of Trinidad, where not many Trinis have even been, and like all these things. And, I was excited. I thought it would be good, but I didn't know what it would be like. Yeah. And I didn't know if I'd end up staying the whole 3 months, like, because I didn't know how much I'd love it. But I just really, it ended up being quite life-changing in that, obviously, that's the reason why I'm still coming to Trinidad now. And I don't know, it just made me like see life a bit differently, and it made me even like politically have different ideas about how I think. And it just gave me ideas of how I thought the world should be, and so much stuff. And it obviously set me on a path of doing other workaway experiences, even though none of them have ever been as good as One Family Farm, which is the name of the farm in Maruga. I don't think any of them will ever be as good as that, so it's a bit like they're always a bit disappointing compared to that one. So I think that really, because like how lucky was I that I got to like for 3 months just be a part of this community where people were playing cards every evening, making bake in the kitchen whilst dancing and singing to music, and there was kids running around. We'd play like silly games with the kids. I'd get to pick okras and go and sell them in Princess Market. You know, driving there in the dark on a Sunday morning at like 4 a.m, setting up our spot, having to like try and convince the policeman not to make us tidy up our goods because we weren't in an official spot, and having the regular customers come and ask for a really nice yam. And, you know, like, if you had asked me 2 years before that if I thought I'd ever be like lucky enough to experience such a different life from my own, and, you know, obviously I would have said no. And like that family at One Family Farm, they're just so amazing because whatever you're good at or not good at, like whoever you are, they like find how you can fit into their operation and like feel really valuable. And I've just never experienced that so much from like any other place in the world. It's like they made me feel like I was so talented just for making this like cardboard sign saying that the breadfruit was $5 a pound, and I drew a breadfruit on it. Like they were like, yeah, you're the market girl. Like, yeah, you know, the market's your, like, you know. And yeah, that it was just so nice that they really like empowered everybody who passes through that. I think everybody feels empowered and everybody learns something. And yeah, I just think it's such like an amazing place, and I just felt really lucky. I actually cried when I left. Like,
wow.
They do this little ceremony thing when like a volunteer leaves, they cook loads of food, and you know the neighbors come, because of course you've got to know all the neighbors and stuff. Like the neighbors come, and you, if you want, you do like a little speech, or you just say thank you, whatever, you know. And I did this like, because obviously 3 months is a long time, so I did like a proper like long speech, and I literally like cried like in the speech. And it was in the speech that I said, like, you know, I always want to come back, even if I, you know, have children in the future, I want to bring them, whatever. And then
wow,
obviously I was like fortunate enough to be able to like make that happen, to come back.
Wow. Racolia, before you jump in, right? Folks, if you guys have any questions, you guys can always call in or send us the questions via WhatsApp. If you would like to call in and speak to Zoe, you can call in at 627-3223. That's 627-3223 or 625-2257, 625-2257, or send us a WhatsApp at 306-1065. That is 306-1065 for the WhatsApp.
So Zoe, we were talking off air before we went live, and I was asking you about some of the different islands you've been to across the Caribbean. Can you tell us about what you've noticed about the various personalities of the different islands? Anything that has stuck out from, let's say, Trinidad versus Barbados versus Grenada?
I think because Jamaica was the first one that I went to, and I was quite young when I went there, I didn't have like that much travel experience. I guess like I did maybe generalize a bit, and after like going to Jamaica, I did think that maybe the other islands might be not the same, but like I thought they'd be more similar than what they actually are.
Right.
Hold on, Zoe, stick a pin. We have a caller coming in. Hello, you are live on Digital World.
Hi. Good day.
Good day.
I'd like to ask a question. I heard Zoe spoke about means where you can be able to get information or find out cheaper rates or cheaper ways, like when you need to travel from one place to another. And what is the how do you find out that?
Yeah, so it's a website and an app, so you can choose to download the app, or you could just visit the website. So it's called Sky Scanner, so like SKY Scanner, like one word. So you download Sky Scanner, and it's like a search function, so it will ask you, you know, where do you want to fly from, where do you want to fly to. So you just, you know, type it in, Port of Spain, and then...
I got Sky, I didn't get the other one.
Oh, Scanner, like SCANNER. Like when you scan something.
Sky Scanner.
Yeah.
So you just type that and you will get through?
Yeah, so you need to go on the website itself that's called Sky Scanner, or you could look in your app store, you know, on your phone, like your app store where you get your apps, and type in the same Sky Scanner. It's got like a blue logo. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, it's like a blue logo with a white sun on it. So that's the correct app. So you would download it, and yeah, it would give you that same function as the website.
A Y stamp?
No, like it's a blue for the app. It's a blue logo with a white sun.
A white sun?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lovely. Thank you for that question.
Thank you very much.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Go right ahead, Zoe.
Yeah, so I maybe thought that like maybe they might all be quite similar, and in a way obviously the islands are similar, but in a way they're so different. So I remember, I think after Trinidad, when I came in 2016, I think after that I went to Dominica, and Dominica is so quiet, like in comparison to both Trinidad and Jamaica, and even down to like the transport. So, you know, like, well, maybe you don't know, but in Jamaica, the buses, the ones a lot often that I experienced, were like super loud, blasting out music. The conductor was talking to all the girls, blah blah blah. And then in Dominica now, and you know, when you want to get off, like you may shout quite loud, and then the conductor like bangs on the ceiling and whatever. And then in Dominica now, like I was, I guess, stupidly expecting the same thing. And then like everyone, like when they get on, they just say good day and they sit down. And then when you want to get off, you go stopping. They just say stopping. I mean, okay, maybe sometimes they might say gas station or oh, driver, you know where I'm going, whatever. But generally like this very polite, like stopping. And like, yeah, maybe you have to shout when you're at the back, but like it just wasn't the same style of shouting as it is in Jamaica. I don't know how to explain it. And like, yeah, it was just so different. And then in St. Vincent, I didn't realize that they'd have, not all the buses again, but some of the buses would have these huge speakers, like extra speakers that attached to like the back. And I went there during like the carnival period, so obviously their soca is quite has a lot of bass, like the Vincy soca. And so went and sat near the back for like my first bus ride in St. Vincent, and then obviously my eardrums were like a bit overstimulated by that. And so whereas some islands have rules now, that I think Trinidad, the maxis are not allowed to even blast out the music anymore. So yeah, even down to the transport, it is quite different. And I think like the humor, the what's expected of men and women a little bit, maybe how you dress, things like this, like vary a little bit, I think, still island to island.
Right.
On that topic, now I'm not asking you to rank them, but you've participated in a few carnivals around the region at this point. You know, what has stuck out when you have been traveling and you've been able to participate in some of the carnivals around the region?
Yeah, like they're so different from each other. Like they're so different, and I just think they all have like so much to offer, and maybe there's just one that suits
depending on your taste.
Depending on who you are, because even the soca itself, obviously you already know that the soca is so different. Like think about like jab soca like in Grenada versus like a groovy Kes song. Do you know what I mean? Like they're just, it's almost maybe for some people hard to believe they're even the same genre, like that they're both even soca. So you know, some people might not like jab Grenada soca or whatever, like, and so the soca influences so much, doesn't it? And then certain carnivals maybe only have like 15 bands on the road. Certain carnivals might have 50 bands on the road, so you might want to be at a carnival where you can choose from 50 bands, but you might want to be at a carnival where if your friend is in another band, you can easily walk down the road and find her. Do you know what I mean? So I just think they all can offer like so many different things, and that's so cool that you can experience those different things and, you know, choose which one is for you. But St. Vincent, I think, is like the dark horse. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like the one that maybe not everybody would necessarily choose.
Why? But what stood out to you the most with Vincy?
Like, it just felt like it was for them. It wasn't for the foreign people.
Ooh,
yeah, and like obviously in all my travels, whether it's the food, whether it's whatever it is, I'm seeking out what's for the people who are already there, right? Like I don't want them to change it for me. And so I know like I first went to a carnival when I was 16, and so I feel like I've kind of seen that in certain ways, like carnival is starting to maybe cater in some ways a bit too much to like the visitors and not enough to the local people. But like St. Vincent really felt like quite powerful. Like to me it felt powerful that like they didn't really seem to be like bending too much that way. Yeah, and like carnival is supposed to be for the people, so you can see it was changing a little bit because there were a few bands that like had started in port. You can see it's still changing a bit, of course, as time goes on stuff's going to change, but just compared to the other carnivals I've been to, it definitely felt like it was one of the main ones that's still for the people. So yeah,
you have met quite a number of the popular personalities across every destination you've gone to. You know, who has been some of your favorite people that you've been able to connect with, and you know, were you even shocked that, oh wow, you actually know me and what I'm doing, like they're paying attention to you as well?
I think you already know the answer to that one. I think that's a loaded question. Are you talking about the video where I freaked out because young brother knew who I was? because I'm such a loser. I'm such a fangirl. I'm like the biggest fangirl ever. Like I grew up watching basketball like in the UK, and I would always get their autographs and be like the one shouting at the front. So I'm naturally just like the biggest fangirl, and I don't care. Like I'm so shameless. And so when what was this, 1 or 2 years ago, I can't remember. Yeah, in Guyana last year when I ended up in like the VIP tent, and I like timidly like went up to young Breda to ask for a photo, like, oh sorry if you don't mind, you know, and then he was like, oh, you're that girl that did a cooking video in Tobago, and I was like, oh my god. You know who I am. So yeah, that was like the first time that I was excited by somebody else like knowing who I am. It doesn't really happen much, to be fair. That might even be the only time.
Serious?
Because I haven't met many famous people really. Like
okay, fair enough.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know who you're referring to when you were like you've met loads of. I don't know who.
I meant personality because I know you've done a few collaborations with other content creators as well, in different locations.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't like here with like people from music. I've only really done the collabs with College Boy Jesse and Pimpin. Yeah. And College Boy Jesse didn't know who I was. Pimpin knew who I was. Okay. Yeah. Like I don't know. It's not like loads of people.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. That's no problem. That's no problem. No, but that's cool. So I mean, okay. You've been traveling for years now. What motivates you to continue traveling and continue seeing the world? Do you ever feel like, all right, I've seen enough, let me go back to England, let me...
You know, my mum always asks me, she's like, one day, isn't there going to be enough waterfalls? And I'm like, no, mummy, there's never enough waterfalls. But, no, I think when something happens that like I deem to be success, not that it's like financial or whatever, but just when something happens that like I'm proud of or I'm happy about, then obviously it just makes me want to carry on. So like for example, the other day, the same interview I was telling you about where I interviewed the ITIL food vendor in the market in Guyana the other day when it happened like spontaneously, he is actually new, like he's only been selling out there for like a month, and obviously he wants to build it up and like grow it more and sell more food and things like that. Yeah. And that, like I said, the video ended up getting shared so many times, and then he WhatsApped me today and I asked him like, have many more customers come, or has anybody like spoken to you about the video? And he was like, yeah, yesterday I literally sold out within an hour. Wow. Whereas normally it might take 3 or 4 or whatever. And so like that just made me so happy, and I was like, wow, like that's so cool. That's I don't know, like I was just like, obviously it's worth it then. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I don't know. And yeah, sometimes when I manage to get collaborations that I really want, like for example when I followed around College Boy Jesse for the day, I was just proud of myself that he rated my content highly enough to let me follow him around for the day. Do you know what I mean? So when like some people, I mean, okay, there aren't that many other examples of that, but like still, that makes me like proud and makes me like remember that my content is good. And yeah, but especially when girls, especially like younger girls, say things about how like they, well, I don't know. Actually, no. The young girls, they just come and give me a hug, and it's cute. But so that, no, I'm getting my examples confused. But yeah, more like I get like DMs quite often, you know, saying, hey, like I'm just a random example would be like, hey, I'm from Trinidad, and you know, I usually just like stay in the house, but your videos made me realize that I should explore more. So I've actually just booked a ferry to take my child to Tobago for the first time, and I'll say like, oh, cool, like that's really great. Like, let me know how it goes. And then I'm actually thinking of a specific lady now. She when she was there, she like asked for a few tips on like places to go and stuff, and like I sent her some voice notes, and then she told me that she went and it was really good and she was so happy, and thank you for inspiring her and whatever. And you know, when stuff like that happens, I'm just like, wow, that's so amazing. Like
you're leaving an impact.
Yeah, like let me carry on, do you know what I mean? So
do you think that whenever you do decide to, you know, fly for the last time, you may want to segue into something else that is still travel related, but you know, like offering services like itinerary planning, or being like a travel concierge or something like that?
Yeah, I do sometimes think like, especially because like I'm not like that young. I mean, I'm 31. Like I think the type of content that I'm doing, you know, going to some parties, hopping on the back of boys' bikes and things like this, I do sometimes wonder, because I'm not like 20, how long, like, because that's what people love. I mean, that's part of what people love. Sometimes I wonder, like, basically, as I get a bit older, who knows? I mean, there's no age limit to anything, but as I get a bit older and maybe my interests or my
shift,
how I want to do things maybe might change a little bit. I sometimes wonder how that will work, like, with the content. And maybe it'll be fine and maybe people will appreciate other ways that I might move or whatever, but maybe they won't. So I am, like, aware that because I didn't start this, like, when I was, 20, I'm not sure how much of a market for, like, the more middle-aged travel there's really going to be.
Big, actually.
I don't know. It's just I'm just that's, like, on my radar. So yeah, I might have to, like, try and offer something else, or even, like, sometimes I think that maybe one day I'll, like, build my own backpacker hostel. And
that's a good one.
Yeah, but I'm just conscious, like, obviously it would have to be in a hot country because I hate the cold. But I'm just conscious of, like,
is that part of the reason why you haven't gone back home yet?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a huge reason I hate the cold, and also because I don't have a car anymore, so I wouldn't even be able to get around.
Right.
But yeah, I'm just conscious of, like, the morals behind, like, buying land in a country that's not where you were born, and especially a country that's maybe been impacted by, colonialism and stuff. So I'm a bit, like, I don't know about that. But then I always see, like, so many other people doing it, and I'm just like, ugh, like, sometimes maybe it even annoys me that I think so much. I don't know. It's, like, weird because like, part of me thinks, like, maybe it's okay if you, like, speak to the community where it is and they have a good relationship with you and they believe it would benefit their community too, and you work with them on ways to, like, for that space to be accessible for them too, and for them to come and make money in that space too. Like, then maybe it's not you, like, being a colonizer, but, like, I don't really know. Everyone has different opinions on that, and who's the boss of that opinion. Do you get what I mean? Like, there's always going to be people that tell you what you're doing is wrong. I mean, actually, lots of people tell me what I'm doing now is wrong and that I shouldn't be, making videos in countries that, like, were colonized by, like, potentially my ancestors or whatever. So you can't, I don't know.
You can't win.
You can't win, but, like.
But part of what you're doing as well is helping to not just break barriers, but it is helping to create a world more of inclusion and acceptance and celebration of different cultures compared to back in the day of our ancestors, So I can argue against that as well.
Like, I guess with literally any topic, there's arguments on both sides.
Yeah,
really.
yeah,
absolutely.
for sure.
And it doesn't matter what the topic is.
No.
There's always there's always, the other side. Zoe, as we wrap up the interview, my final question for you would be, what is something that you know now that you wish you knew when you first started out booking that one-way flight and starting that journey? What is something you wish you knew that you know now that you wish you knew when you started out?
That I should just block people who say really bad things on my videos. I literally will block people for anything now. Like, my block is just, like, would reach through the ceiling. They're literally like, don't do that, the world is not safe. I'm like, block. So yeah, I wish I knew to, like, because I think in the beginning I was maybe more trying to please, like, too many people in, like, the comments and stuff. So I'd try and be, like, so gentle, and I still don't want to, like, be rude, and I still think it's good to be, like, gentle and, give, like, empathy to everyone, because people are only coming from the viewpoint that they, like,
they can only meet you where they're at.
Yeah, and who's right? Like, I'm not right about everything, Yeah. So I still don't want to, like, put people down or just cause arguments for nothing. But, like, I think now I'm just more aware that you really can't please everyone, and I know, like, what path I'm trying to be on, and I know that some of the things I've done have been good, and I know that I'm happy in my opinion and my way of, like, approaching the world. Do you know what I mean? And so I just wish I knew that I didn't have to spend time on, like, answering all these people. Not that I ever answered all of them, but I don't know. I wish I just knew to block people
Ignore and block.
more. And to not spend so much time. Like, now I have a habit where, like, I force myself to, I don't let myself read all the comments even. So if a video gets, obviously if it has, like, 5 comments, I'll read all of them. But if it kind of blows up a little bit and it gets, let's say, like, 200 comments, I actually, like, try to be strict with myself to not even let myself read all of them, because really any video that has a lot of comments, some of them are going to be horrible. So I try and get in a habit to where I say to myself, like, to be honest, they're not even really, like, for you, because often they're for other people. The comments are for, like, you guys to interact with each other, like each other's comments about me. it's not necessarily for me. I don't have to really
Engage.
Or
consume for that.
Yeah, consume it really, because what's the better use of my time, like reading through all those comments or planning the next interview? Do you know what I mean?
And protecting your energy at the end of the day.
Because sometimes it is just when, obviously some days I read more than other days. And on the days when you do read like 10 things saying you're going to be on our headlines next week as a murder victim, you know, reading that 10 times in one day, obviously phrased differently, but that kind of thing. Or next, watch out, one day when you hitchhike, they'll hold you down and rape you, like things like this. Like, to read like 10 of those things in one day of varying things, like, it's just not great energy to be absorbing, is it? So
it isn't, no.
That kind of thing, I guess I'm learning more as time goes on, you know.
I mean, well, I want to know a bit more about your trip or your visit to Laventille. So the thing is, the reality is, unfortunately, there are a lot of people in the country who would not visit Laventille because, you know, there is a lot of negative stigmatization around the area. But you went. So you want to tell us a bit about what prompted you to go in the first place, and the experience? Yeah, so
I wanted to go from like years ago, but I was waiting for like the right opportunity to go, because I already know, or my personal opinion is that when there are like neighborhoods that are experiencing certain problems and stuff, and neighborhoods where usually like it's just for the people who live there, like neighborhoods where they don't have like major attractions or major nightclubs or major whatever, it's just not usually like a done thing to just like stroll in there. Like, I already know that from like my past travel experience. So when it comes to neighborhoods like that, I'm perfectly happy to go, but like once the right situation comes about, like with the right person who's like from there and who isn't in like loads of beef with other people from there, basically. So yeah, I always like wanted to go because obviously I just like doing content in different places, and if anybody wants me to come and do content in the neighborhood, like obviously I'm generally down to do that. So yeah, like so many people spoke about Laventille. When I first started vlogging here, like lots of people thought they were very funny by commenting on my videos being like, welcome to Trinidad, make sure you check out Laventille. Like thinking that I'm literally living under a rock and that I've never heard that it's an area with maybe a higher rate of violence than some. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, oh yeah, well done, comedian. So like but then it's kind of ironic because I did actually want to go. So anyway, I was just like keeping my eyes open for like the right situation to go there, whether that would be maybe if one day they were holding like a big like community event, or whether that would be that I'd make a friend from there or whatever. And like some people had messaged before saying like, hey, come to Laventille, but I'm quite fussy with like who I respond to and who I choose to trust from a random message, because I'm choosing to trust somebody based off like basically nothing. And so just none of them have like, I just know when it's the one, and like none of them were like the one until this guy was on one of my lives, and he didn't even have like a username. It was like user123. It wasn't it wasn't like his name.
Sounds like a bot.
And he was like, oh, we're waiting for you in Laventille, and I was on the live, so I was like, oh yeah, I do actually want to come, but like I'm waiting for the right person, whatever. Then I was in the PNM Red Fair that night, and this man came up to me and was like, hey, I'm the guy that was on your live and said you should come to Laventille. So in my head I was like, it's destiny. So because I just believe in like the universe doing stuff how it's meant to. And then he just seemed, I just knew it was the one. I don't know how to explain it. I just knew, like, his energy was just calm, and I just knew, like, we just had a tiny bit of a chat in the fair, and I saw the crowd he was with. I liked their energy too. Like, I just knew I was gonna trust him. So I was like, okay, give me your number, blah blah blah. Then we had a phone call a couple of days later, and I explained like what I was looking to get out of it, which would be try a food spot, like see the different small businesses there, like see some views, whatever. Maybe if anybody there does music, I'd like to like chat to them. If there's any street art, like I just want to see all that. Any sports going on, just want to see like what happens there, you know. And he was like, yeah, cool. I get on with lots of different groups of people there, so I can take you to different places. Like it won't be a problem if you're with me. Meet me at the Mova Junction at like midday on whatever day we chose. So I was like, okay. So then I just went to the Mova Junction like in a maxi, and then he picked me up, and well, yeah, we went around and whatever. And yeah, I think there was a lot of discourse like on what happened. There was like a few general categories. So some people was just saying that I'm just so stupid, you know, that I shouldn't do that, whatever. Well, yeah, of course, because, you know, when I was waiting at the Mova Junction for him, well, it did occur to me that, like, it could be a setup. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, it's probably not.
Know,
and
this
like,
may not be what it's supposed to be.
Because, like I said, when I'm hiking, like, I know that somebody might anything happen. Like when I was at the Mova Junction, I was like, Zoe, like anything could happen right now. Like it's probably not going to, but like it could. So anyway, some people would just say that I'm just plain stupid, and like they're like, oh, what she doesn't know, she can't. Like they literally thought like I didn't know anything about what goes on in Laventille. Again, they thought I just live under a rock. Like, oh, she's so naive, she just doesn't know. And it's like, okay, I do know. I just made this decision regardless. And then some people were like, oh, no one will ever do her anything anywhere in Trinidad because she's white. It's all about white privilege. And then some people were like, okay, actually, those were like the two main things. So yeah, the one with being stupid, I literally did the maths. I went on a news page and I literally counted how many murders have happened in Laventille in 2024, and I literally researched the population of Laventille, and I literally did the maths, and your percentage chance of dying on any given day in Laventille is less than 1%. So that's that myth debunked.
Statistics.
And then
will always win.
and again, I'm willing to take the 1% chance. And plus, I think most people who are killed in Laventille probably have some previous like beef going on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes there's stray bullets. Of course, I'm not immune to stray bullets. Like I said, there is a chance, but I was willing to take that chance. Then the thing about like me being white or whatever, like I think it doesn't come from nothing. Like obviously people know that generally, like if you kill a tourist, probably regardless of their skin color, like the detectives are going to look harder for you, right? So maybe if you actually care about going to prison, you might choose not to, you know, do crime towards a tourist. But lots of people don't care if they go to prison. Like lots of people, their lives past that. Like they don't value their life, so they don't care who they choose. Do you know what I mean? So I would personally say that, of course, white privilege is real, and of course, certain people are going to rethink, you know, their thing because you're a tourist or because you're white or because they, I don't know, think your family might have money or power or whatever. But it's by no means like, oh, she can just walk anywhere, no one will ever do her anything. Because I've literally been robbed at gunpoint before in the Caribbean. Like it's not, like it's just very silly to like make such a blanket like statement. And also I didn't stroll in. Like I went with somebody who I'd had a discussion about, I didn't even tell you guys all the discussion, but about why people there you know, respect him or whatever, and it's because he had made a movie, it's The Prodigal Son, it's on YouTube. He had made a movie in Laventille, so because he made the movie there, he'd had to deal with lots of different people. Like I went through a process of choosing this person, and like yeah, like it didn't happen overnight. I wanted to go for years, and I waited until like who I thought was the right person came along. And I said to him when I was in Laventille, I was like, would you ever think about offering like tours, because there's such good views here, like would you ever think about maybe trying to get on board with like a local person that makes food and somebody else that makes drinks, and do like a whole like package where people can come, you can drive them to the viewpoint, you can take them to buy the food, support the local businesses, blah blah blah. And he was like, well yeah, like I'd love to do that, like maybe we can talk about ideas or like whatever. So you know, somebody who's from there, he also told me that he invites his friends to come to visit him in Laventille because he knows, or not knows, but strongly assumes that they'd be fine if they came, but they won't come. So it's like, if somebody from there is telling you that like you're probably fine if you're there and visit him, well he probably knows better than you. Do you know what I mean? So like seriously, people can contact him if they want to go. And I think it's silly to like paint Laventille as if they've got like somebody with a massive sniper like waiting on every single corner to like shoot any non-Laventille person that dares to step one foot inside the community. It's just like quite clearly not like that. And yeah, so I just think several things can be true at once. Like white privilege can be real. It can be not smart to wander in without somebody who's from there. It can be important to do your research about who that person is. There can be a 1% chance, and you can be willing to take that chance, or you can be not willing to take that chance, and then maybe you don't want to go to Laventille. That's also okay. Like lots of things can be true
at the same time.
One time. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
Wow. That was powerful.
That was.
Zoe, I mean, there's so much more we could talk to you about, but we've run out of time. You know, give us your closing remarks for the Digital World family on Freedom 106.5.
I don't know what to say.
Go bravely, travel the world, use math, it's good.
Yeah, I don't know. I think just try and remember that most people in the world aren't murderers, and that like you just never know what might come if you just go and ask that question. Like whether it's that you go up and ask a Rastaman where's the nearest good vegetarian food, whether it's that you just, instead of using Google Maps, just ask someone where, you know, there's places that you want to go, and if somebody invites you somewhere, like maybe try for like your first thought not to be that it's like them luring you in to be murdered, because if you just say yes sometimes, like you could just experience so many things. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. Just do that maybe if you want, but it's not for me to tell anyone else what to do, because I don't like when other people tell me what to do. So.
Where can the Digital World family find you online?
TikTok, Travel with Zoe. There's no Y on the end of my name, but for some reason people in Trinidad love putting a Y on the end of my name, so it's just ZOE. And then my Instagram is Travel with Zoe, but with an underscore at the end, because somebody stole the Travel with Zoe one. I'm trying to buy it off her. Oh, wow. And then, I mean, she didn't steal it, she got it before me. And then Facebook, there's like a fan page thing, and it's travelwithzoe.org, which is also the name of my website. It's very confusing. Hope you got that.
We did.
We got it. Zoe, thank you so very much. I know everyone clearly got a lot of value from this with all of the calls and the messages we've been guessing. Guys, we are going to be right back.
The best insight, instant feedback, accountability. The all-new Talk Radio Freedom 106.5.
So that was today's program. I hope you guys enjoyed the interview with Zoe Reeve, aka Travel with Zoe. I will link to her social media platforms so you guys can go and check her out and follow her on her journey as Zoe travels the world, and she shows you, the different spots, and she also dives into, how she's able to travel the world. All right. If you guys enjoyed this episode of the Digipreneur FM podcast, feel free to get on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leave a rating. Again, the ratings help to continue to grow the Digipreneur family all across the world. And if you really enjoyed today's podcast, don't forget to drop a review. I don't ask for much, but again, the reviews help continue to grow the podcast. As usual, you can follow me over on Keron Rose, KERONROSE, at all social media platforms. I'm most active on LinkedIn, also IG stories as well. And then follow, go check out KeronRose.com. That link will be there in the show notes to learn more about building your digital presence and monetizing your platforms. And last but not least, check out the Digipreneur FM website to stay up to date on all things related to the podcast. It's a Thursday. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see you guys and gals and lovely folks in the Digipreneur family in the next episode. Take care.
You've been listening to the Digiboss, Keron Rose. We hope your notepad was filled after this episode. Make sure to like, rate, and review the show. The learning doesn't stop, folks. And to make sure you don't miss any gems from the Digiboss, go over and follow him on all social media platforms at Keron Rose. Folks, don't just sit there with a notepad. We need you to implement at least one thing into your business before the next episode. That's the only way your business levels up. Thanks for listening to Digipreneur FM. Now go be great.